The woman discovers that her husband didn't die, but was actually with her best friend Angie. She wakes up to find blood stains all over her pajamas, and her husband Nick has suddenly disappeared. She finds a knife on the deck, and just as she picks it up, the Coast Guard arrives. After returning to shore, the Coast Guard inspects the area, but Nick's body is nowhere to be found. The next day, she takes her son to the beach. Soon after, her lawyer friend and the police arrive and officially announce that Nick is dead. Libby is now a suspect and is taken to a jail cell. Her lawyer friend defends her, but after the investigation, the police uncover that Nick was about to go bankrupt and had embezzled funds. Just months earlier, they had bought life insurance. And now with Nick dead, Libby stands to receive a $2 million payout. At the trial, because Libby was found holding the knife and there was the insurance money involved, the police accuse her of killing her husband for the insurance. Libby decides to let Angie adopt her son Jack.
You're gonna go stay with Angie for a while, okay, kiddo?
After that, Angie and Jack never visit again. Libby calls Angie, wanting to hear her son's voice. When Jack speaks to her, she can't hold back her tears.
Daddy!
Nick?
Nick quickly cuts off the phone line. Libby continues calling, but the line is never answered again. Libby realizes that her husband might not be dead. She suspects that he staged the whole thing. A fellow inmate tells her that getting a case overturned in prison is nearly impossible, so she should accept reality. The inmate advises Libby to wait until she's out of prison and then kill Nick because, according to the law, a person can't be tried twice for the same crime. Libby follows the advice, starts working out every day, and because of her good behavior, she is granted parole. One night, she opens the database, finds Angie's details, and tracks down her address. However, the parole officer discovers that Libby hasn't returned home that night. They chase after her, subdue her, and she is sent back to prison for violating her parole. On the way back to prison, they need to take a ferry. Libby repeatedly proclaims her innocence, but the parole officer doesn't believe her. He ties her to the door handle and then goes upstairs to drink coffee. Libby notices that the officer hasn't taken the car keys and sees the water pipes outside. She repeatedly bangs into them, but it doesn't work. When the officer returns, Libby quickly steps on the gas, and they both crash into the lake. Once the handcuffs are removed, Libby takes the officer's gun and uses the buoyancy to swim to shore. She finds Angie's new residence and discovers that Angie died 3 years ago in a gas explosion. Nick had taken their son out that day. Libby finds a newspaper from that year and realizes it was her husband who caused Angie's death. An unmarried men's auction is scheduled at a hotel. Libby arrives there and Nick walks on stage.
Would you like to come forward and claim your prize, young lady?
Libby steps out of the crowd.
Hello, Nick.
Nick is stunned. He thought Libby was still in prison. They walk off the stage, and Libby makes one demand to have her son back. Nick explains that 6 years ago, he was on the brink of bankruptcy. He faked his death so that Libby could receive the insurance money and live a happy life with their son. Unfortunately, Libby was sent to prison, and Nick later fell in love with Angie.
So is that why you killed her?
That was an accident.
Nick and Libby are reunited with their son. Libby walks toward him, but he walks away from her. Libby knows that time has created a distance between her and Jack. She follows her son inside, but suddenly Nick appears, knocks Libby unconscious, and locks her in a coffin. Libby pulls out a gun and searches for the coffin's lock. Finally, she escapes the danger. Libby plans to kill her husband. Just as she is about to reach the hotel, a police officer stops her. At this moment, the officer finally realizes that Libby isn't a murderer, but a mother trying to find her son.